Welcome back to the It's a Mimic podcast, where you never know what you're going to get. Today, we're sitting down with another 20 mailbag questions that you, the listeners, have sent in, and that we, the hosts, have to answer. I'm Adam, and with me today are Megan and Bradley.
So, the way that this episode is going to work is we're going to sit down with a list that have been randomly sorted from the monstrous amount of questions that you guys have sent in, and then we're going to roll initiative. That's going to determine which of us has to read the questions in what order. Remember, everyone has to answer each question, but if whoever reads it out loud has to answer first.
And yes, we have to address every question.
Oh boy.
So, let's grab dice.
Let's do it.
And let's roll.
So just grab dice or roll dice?
Did you hear what I said after that? God, you're fucking needy, the group of you.
You got a 9.
14.
All right, Brad, you're up first.
All right.
You get to read the next 5 questions.
Read the next 5 questions. You got it. All right, number 1. Do you keep a session document between sessions? If so, what do you write down? So as the person reading it, I'm answering first. And yes, but my note-taking is terrible. So what do I write down? Whatever I happen to remember to write down at the time.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm DMing, my intra-session documents are much more thorough. As a player, no, it's like I'll review this 10 minutes before we sit down to play, refresh myself, and half the time it is short form with half thoughts that sometimes leave more questions than answers.
Yeah. Megan, lie to everyone and tell them that you take notes.
As a player, I absolutely do not take notes. In fact, it is a very common place that I am the one sitting at the table. Everybody's scribbling down character names, and I'm like, fools. But I am very happy that I have people at the table that will do so. If I'm ever at a table where there's people that aren't going to take the notes, I will step into that leadership role. I am a leader in my everyday life. If I do not have to be that person, I will not be that person. But as a DM, I do take notes. Obviously, like
unless you're Dan, most DMs should be taking notes.
Yeah.
And Dan also should be taking notes.
No.
Dan, take note.
Take note, yeah. But like mine there are scribbles similar to yours.
Oh, yeah.
But Adam's seen this before, and what I do is I actually afterwards write up what happened in that episode, almost in paragraph story written format.
Yeah.
I am that person for our group as well. I'm responsible for taking my notes and at least putting a little result of what happened last session in the recap.
Yeah.
I'm that guy in the Discord.
I went as far into when we did the Alpha of our campaign, I went as far as every time we did an episode, I wrote it out like an episode recap, and then I posted a song that was thematic to what happened in that episode. So I went that far
is next
into doing
level.
it. But we only played like 4 episodes, so it wasn't hard for me to manage
Right.
that. If it was a longer standing campaign, I probably wouldn't do it to that degree. But yeah, I have to do it in story format or else my brain will not remember what happened.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm same.
As a player, and I am a player now, I have played once in a new campaign.
Look at you.
Yay!
I know.
You play more 5.5 than I have.
Than probably everyone else on the podcast, I think. But I sat there and I realized that there are 3 of us in this campaign, 3 players, and the other 2 guys were noobs.
Right.
And they don't know how to take notes, so I took notes. And so I hate taking notes, but I did it. And so, because somebody needs to, and we're going to pass that buck as quickly as possible.
See?
Yeah, but when I DM, I write up all my notes before the session. First this, then this, then this. This is my plan.
Yeah.
And then the only thing I have to do after is say, they fucked this up, they did this instead.
Right.
So
Just start crossing things out in
Yeah,
red.
that's right.
Yeah.
Or circling them, moving them down the chart.
Moving the green string to
That's
a different
right.
area of the map.
So I amend my notes as I go, and I always have a little notepad at the table with me. And every once in a while, I'll write down important initiatives that happen or something.
NPCs that have died
Yeah,
or what have
I
you.
will take little notes, and then that will end up getting fleshed out. But never more than probably 20 sentences after, but 4 pages before, right?
Yeah.
That's my prep, so.
That's fair.
Anyway, Brad?
Excellent. Next question. Who is your favorite villain from TV, movies, novels, etc.? Comics of any other genre I may have missed?
So this is from Tarzan of the Desert. The first one was Zan.
Yeah.
Everything here is from the patrons now. There was nothing new from non-patrons.
Oh,
Okay.
You're welcome.
So Tarzan of the Desert gave us 20 questions. He gave us 20
Perfect.
questions. And so we're only doing 10 of them. So everyone else could play 2.
Yeah. Take
So-
that.
So every other one in this episode is going to be from him.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I gotta say one of my favorite villains from anything is Doctor Doom. Just the complexity of the character, the moral ambiguity on some of it, and then the moral, like, just black and whiteness. They know what they stand for, they stand by it, and it always creates interesting plot points whenever they are involved in a Marvel run.
Are you excited for Robert Downey Jr. to be?
You know what? I am cautiously optimistic.
That's kind of where I'm sitting on it too.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I hope they play off of Iron Man, but well, that's another conversation. But no, Doctor Doom is probably one of my all-time favorite villains in any piece of media.
Nice. I think mine changes with the flavor of the week because I read a lot of smut novels. So, and the morally
They all
gray,
become lovers by
Yeah.
the end of the book. Yeah.
So,
Well, they get to the inn. There's only one bed, and then
so every week it is a different villain that I like, because that tends to be the direction that I like to go with my readings. However, I would say the TV show that I continuously go back to because I like the villain that is portrayed is a TV show. It's not even, this isn't going to be nerdy, folks, so buckle up. The TV series Good Girls.
Okay.
There is a villain in it named Rio, who is basically like the drug dealer person who's now told all of these women who are mothers that they're going to work in his drug ring, basically, and he is just fine. And I've rewatched it 1,000 times because of his villainry. But he's the evil good guy that turns out to be good in the end because he just ends up falling in love with one of the girls, and then
You got a type, hey?
yeah,
I do have time.
Has this bled into your personal life? Is this
not
healthy?
hard.
Do you need an intervention?
do we need to like bail you out of some sort of ring?
My type is okay. There's a trend on TikTok right now, which is my type, which is if you go on TikTok and type my type at the top, and it'll show you like who, like algorithm wise, who your type is. It's ridiculously accurate, and like mine will always be the morally gray, like villainous, like character for sure. Men and women, to be fair, but it will always be the villain. So my villain changes
That tracks.
constantly.
Yeah. My favorite. Okay, so I like a lot of villains. I could list for days, but the two that stuck with me, I think, for the majority of my childhood, which have impacted the chaos that I love to bring to my villains, and the plan without a plan, like
It's a master plan without a detailed plan.
It's either Pennywise, because
Demonia.
how do you fight that nonsense?
Absolute demonia.
Yeah, terrified the shit out of me when I was a kid. Tim Curry's amazing. But the other one is the judge from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh yeah,
That movie scares the shit out of me. I
Yeah.
never rewatched it.
I
As an
love
adult.
that movie.
Oh,
can't.
you should. It's real funny. Like
No, I can do it.
it's done a great job. But fuck, I would love to bring that character to a table.
Nightmare Fuel.
100%.
Yeah.
100. Next question is from Alan Brewbeard. Recently it was mentioned that a dragon baculum was used as a tattoo pen in a game. My uncle knows a guy who makes toothpicks out of raccoon bacula. What else have you heard or could imagine a baculum being used for?
Everyone know what a baculum is?
A
Please
penis
explain
bone.
it. Please
It's the penis bone
Yeah.
that some animals have.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So
Yeah. You know what? I'm just gonna give a weird one. Yeah, toothpicks was mentioned, but also like just what am I trying? Like a straw. If somebody drilled it out and hollowed it out, there's got to be an audience for that somewhere.
Well, I mean, I would also think that if you're going to use it for tattooing, you could potentially just use it for piercing. Like,
Yes.
why wouldn't you just...
Mhm.
That would be the easy next step.
and I'm heading into like a writing implement too, like a quill, because they're kind of hollow
Yeah.
as well. Like I don't know. I don't think bacula are hollow, but there's no good answer for this. There are great answers and terrible answers, and nothing in between.
Yeah.
I was thinking like if you are going to be a monk that like uses darts,
Yeah.
that would be a lot of fun to fashion those.
Hold on.
Right.
Drill one out, uses a flute.
So you
So
roll
you
on it?
so you have a bone flute.
Yeah, a bone flute.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there are good answers. There are great answers, and there are terrible
And there's
answers.
whatever the fuck we just did.
Yeah.
All right. Next one, again from Tarzan of the Desert. This is going to be an Adam exclusive question. Who is the best? Actually, no, I guess you wrote there. Who is the best and worst drunk dancer at Adam and Mieka's wedding?
Oh.
So I was not there. So Megan, why don't you answer first,
Yep,
and then
you're up first.
and then the
Okay,
groom
who is
can
the
answer.
best and worst?
Yeah, best first, then worst.
Okay, so the best was Mieka. I can't, you can't deny that. She looked great. I'm gonna say the worst was probably Adam.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we all danced a little bit. Like I got the chance to dance with Peps. That was the best night of my life. Thanks, Peps. But like otherwise, like yeah, we all danced, but like nobody stood out other than Adam.
In a not good way.
Oh, 100%. Mieka
Was Dave not there, or did he just not dance?
Oh, Dave hit the dance floor and walked around it. I don't remember if I saw him dance.
He never danced once.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But he was up and around the space. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I guess I should have given my predictions first before you answered,
Yeah,
because
that
that
would
would
be
have been
funny.
interesting. But
yeah.
Okay. So in my defense, I don't dance. Clearly.
shocked.
Yeah, I haven't bothered to hit a dance floor in 15 years. And I told Mieka, this is an awkward thing and I don't want to do this. Hard stop.
Yeah.
And she said, well, you're going to have to do it. Why don't you just get drunk enough?
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
And ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly what he did.
Yeah.
Sorry, we were talking about this the other night. You were number 3 most drunk?
I was the third most drunk there.
Yeah.
After Dan, then Charlie, then me, then our officiant, and then probably Megan, but you were covering it up pretty well.
I can drink a lot and still function quite well.
Yeah.
I think there's a phrase for that.
Yes. But you're going to keep it to your fucking self.
You bet I am. I'm not an idiot.
I'm a professional.
Last question from my section comes from Zan, and it's: how do you improve or prepare for your role play of an NPC? Do you do a rehearsal? Do you swing with some mental image of the game table? When it comes to NPCs, all I really do is I read ahead, I get a voice in my head, and then I fail it badly.
Yeah.
I can generally hold together the character of the NPC so I can know what the decisions they're going to make, what words they will use, and how they will interact. But when it comes to accents or like even just a lilt to the speech, I'm all over the map and I get all of my characters confused all the time.
Yeah, I'm really bad at accents, so I usually don't try. But the way I get myself into the mind of like an NPC that I know I'm going to be playing quite a bit at the table is I listen to music beforehand. On my Spotify, I literally have a playlist for every character I've ever built. And so when I'm driving to D&D, when we play D&D, I listen to that playlist.
You should share that with me.
That is cool.
And the reason why this started was because when I was doing L5R with Roman's group during the pandemic and we were all at home, I would literally sit with music in my ears while on Zoom watching people. So I could listen to my own music while listening to other people role play. And then I would change music based on what's happening and what the mood was. And so then I found like that really kept me in character a lot better. And so that's my only way to do that in real life now is that when I'm driving to D&D, I listen to it. If I'm DMing and it's at my house, I have the playlist playing in the background. And like, I don't think any of my players have really picked up on that because I didn't really do it when we did the Alpha group here because we were doing it at your place, not mine. But that's why whenever I did the posts about the L5R storyline, I had a song attached to it because that was the song I was playing in my head when I was driving to D&D or L5R that day.
That's fantastic.
I use music a lot.
I love that.
Yeah.
How do I improv or prepare? I don't, as a general rule, unless they're going to be like a campaign-centric NPC. But even then, I don't
like
know.
a monologue, something that's planned.
Yeah, right.
I'll practice a monologue.
Every once in a while I'll do that, or like the big bad villains, but I have them in my head already, right? And I've done enough character work in my life that I know how they move and how they act and the kind of facial expressions they'll do. I don't do voices. I refuse to do voices because I've populated a world with millions of characters that you guys all bounce off of at some point or another. I can't keep up with this too much, right?
Yeah.
So
You're really good with faces, like facial expressions, I will say that.
yeah, and I focus on breathing, right? I use volume and breathing and speed, and I will lean in or lay back, and I try to use mannerisms and whatnot for that. And I don't really have to do that or I don't have to do prep because I know who these people are when I build them.
Yeah.
And I don't make anything so complicated out the gate. So I've got to remember kind of how they are. They evolve when, I don't know, Charlie walks up and interacts with them for the first time. He was an old dragonborn missing half of his teeth. He's going to talk like this. But then his attitude's going to change based on the interaction. He's going to be a brand new character, and the next time we come back to him, be like, oh, that was a guy that Charlie ran into. And this is what happened. So as long as I stay focused on the story, it'll make sense.
Yeah, it'll come together in the end. Yeah.
All right, let's roll initiative again.
Okay.
As Brad said, his section was done, but he might have to go twice in a row.
It's true.
I rolled a 5.
Oh, it's a...
Well, all right, roll off, Brad. We both
Roll
got
off.
17s.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you can't ignore that.
I got an 8.
And I got a 16. So, Tarzan of the Desert. This is my favorite question that we've ever gotten. It's just one word, and it says anal.
There's a question mark after it.
Yeah, but I will say I absolutely cannot relax, and I'm super anal retentive when it comes to my D&D prep, right? So
It's funny because my answer is going to be the exact opposite, but in the same vein.
but like what 100%, my prep is down to the T. My spreadsheets are very, very meticulous. Yeah.
Dwight spreadsheets.
So
Maybe you need to just kind of let it spread a bit.
Well, there's spreadsheets. That's
Yeah.
what you do. So no.
Have you ever thought about opening up a little bit and just kind of letting it go sometimes?
You look, if you're going to open up, it helps if there's someone else there to teach you how to do it.
That's
right?
fair.
So,
You're not
Have you tried
wrong.
lubricating before?
a spreadsheet?
Just a sip or two, right? Just to lubricate the...
I mean, I guess when I sneeze on the screen.
Moist.
Yeah. Brad?
The exact opposite. I am so easygoing. So the answer to the question of anal question mark is no, I'm not in the slightest. I let a lot of stuff just go. And how are you going to approach this question, Megan?
I'm just going to say yes and let
Perfect. Do with that as you will, internet.
All right, so because that's a bullshit answer, Tarzan of the Desert also asked, what is the one monster in D&D that when it shows up, you break character and get meta because it scares you so much? I will say this. At the end of the first session that I just played as a player, there were large mosquitoes at the end of the cave, and I went, fuck that noise.
Yeah.
And the other two guys, because they were brand new, like, what's the issue? There's a gigantic bear behind us that we're scared of. Like, why are we scared of
I'll
mosquitoes?
take the bear every time.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I came up with, we're going to sick the mosquitoes on the bear.
Mm.
And so we ended up doing that because it was Sturgis, and I was not having a fucking moment with that.
No.
Because we were single hit die, all of us are less than full hit points, and there are 6 of these fucking things. The action economy alone.
Yeah.
It was working against us, and they're fucking deadly. So it was funny because the DM knew immediately and cackled. I think he was going for a TPK, and I just managed to back up, sidestep out of it, and the other guys, like, they never saw an attack because it all, like, the bear was roaring and whatnot, and it nearly died down the other end of the cave, and one of the Sturgis came at us, and we managed to kill it before it got close enough. So
Perfect.
But that's my answer. I will break character. I'm really good about not being meta about stuff, but my character with no Sturgis are fucking scary, so absolutely not.
For me, because Dan likes to use them, it's hags.
That should be everyone's answer.
It's one of those ones
I love a good hag.
when I know, and it's always... He'll try his best to obfuscate them, but you know a hag when you hear a hag.
Yeah.
And it's the first thing your brain goes to, and I don't fully break character and think up the stat block, but I know, okay, I need to be on my A game, because if a hag is used correctly, it is going to mess your day up.
Yeah. Yeah. Similarly, the one that, like, I will always have to sit back and be like, okay, what would my character know?
Mm-hmm.
And have to remind myself, like, I would not know this. But then I also find myself sitting there thinking, how can I find out if my character knows this? And it's usually vampire related.
You don't say.
Yeah. Because, like, in my mind, as soon as I see something that's vampire-esque, I'm like, ooh, is this a vampire? I'm like, but would my character give a shit?
Yeah.
But the other one that I always say that I hate the most and will run away from and be mad about if I ever run into one is usually beholders. I hate beholders.
Why? It's
I
worked so
love
well
them.
for you in the
It's
past.
just so much PTSD from previous campaigns. But because of that, it's ingrained in my head that, okay, I didn't know what it was the first time, and I literally went in blind and fucked that shit right up. And now I never will. Again.
Yeah.
I have traumatized my players so much with beholders in the past that I successfully used a gas spore and freaked out everybody. And Mieka, being the newest one there, was like, how bad can it be? And ran forward and shot at it and blew it up and got poisoned and was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Right? But everybody else was like...
Traumatized.
Yeah.
Pushed back from the table, arms crossed. Why are you doing this to us?
I don't want to be here.
That's my response to everything Adam puts on the table.
Yeah. So what piece of media as a child or adult got you into fantasy? This is from Sweetaboo. For me, it was playing A Link to the Past on the Game Boy Advanced. Fantasy. My first interaction with fantasy, because I was a child of the 80s, would have been He-Man and She-Ra.
Nice.
However, it did not give me a love of the genre. I didn't hunt fantasy down after that. And as a matter of fact, I found a lot of it in my late childhood and early teens, just cheesy as fuck. But that was the 80s and 90s. I had a soft spot for Willow, and that was about it. Right?
Yeah.
Even the original rotoscope Lord of the Rings did not impress me when I was 9 years old, right? It was a hard watch. So I was super stoked for Lord of the Rings because I read it in high school, well, when I was high school age, and the movies came out right at that, as I was graduating. So that was a lot of fun. But standard fantasy, I still don't consider myself a fantasy nerd. Like, I'm a D&D nerd and I love all the fantasy there, but I don't read fantasy novels, and a lot of people do. And I'm being pushed right now to read Mistborn. Yeah. And there are a bunch of other things that I'd like to dig into, but I am not as well versed. It's television if it's good, and a lot of it's not. right? So
True.
I guess like I watch Hercules and Xena, but passively in the background when because I was that age, right? If there's nothing else on, that'll go on in the background while I'm doing homework, right? So I'm aware of it, but I was a sci-fi nerd, right? So
probably entryway would have been what got me into it was Lord of the Rings. And that started my love for all things fantasy. Again, like you, I read them just before the movies came out.
Yeah.
So I had read the books before I saw the movies, but then the movies really cemented my love for it.
Yeah.
It's to the point where if I read the books and I've done rereads, I have to put the soundtrack on.
Yes. Yeah, I'm the same. But probably my first
nerds.
introduction and first love actually probably would have been Chronicles of Narnia.
Okay.
And it is one I still revisit and am now introducing my children to.
Oh, that's fun.
It is. It still holds up to me as a high watermark in fantasy.
I could never wrap my brain around what order I'm supposed to read them in. And so like I was exposed to them out of order because of the movies that came out and they were progressively lower quality.
You know what? Yeah, you can go out of order. It depends on whether you want to go chronological or if you want to go like best order to actually read them in. But Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe is the starting point for anyone. If you try and start anywhere else, you're going to have a hard time.
I never read all like the fantasy novels when I was a kid. I did read fantasy as a young ute, but it was always like books about unicorns and fairies, like the random things you would buy at the Scholastic Book Fair. And I always found this super interesting. But then my dad was a big movie person. So movies was my first introduction to fantasy as a medium because my dad was a big fantasy person and a big sci-fi person. I went fantasy and my brother went sci-fi. Yeah. And so like we grew up with both. But the formative movie that I watched was similar to Adam, where like of course Willow, Princess Bride, all those ones were fantastic. Was the Kevin Costner Robin Hood?
Oh Prince of Thieves. Yeah. I introduced Mieka to that last month, and it makes me very emotional.
It kicked off this whole obsession with like King Arthur, the Knights of the Round Table, like all of those. And anytime I would find a different version of it at Chapters, I would buy that book.
Right.
And so that was my obsession when I was growing up. And then when I got into like elementary school, high school, it kind of just branched into whatever I could find that was high fantasy that I could understand. I would read. I could not understand Lord of the Rings when I read it. I just could not get hooked because that's when I fell into my Stephen King phase and started reading a bunch of like horror, and then that branched off into a whole different obsession. So
the way Tolkien writes, it's understandable that people can't get into it.
I could not understand it, so I gave up until the movies came out. Yeah, but I've always loved fantasy from like a different perspective. Like I liked the realism of fantasy in terms of like, again, Knights of the Round Table, fables, that kind of stuff. And then
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves was a staple. My dad and I would watch that almost every 3 months. Yeah. Right? When my dad died, I sat down to watch it to honor him, and I couldn't make it through.
Couldn't do it.
It's so emotional for me.
Yeah.
If I even hear the opening music for Morgan Creek, which is a production company, it puts me right back in that movie.
Oh, wow.
And, it's so fucking good. And my favorite thing about that movie, sorry, I'm going off on a rant now.
Go.
Morgan Freeman is playing is in a philosophical movie where he is trying to teach people. Kevin Costner is in a straight swashbuckling Kevin Costner movie, and Alan Rickman is in a cartoon.
Correct.
And none of the three of them know what the other two are doing, and it is such a wonderful clusterfuck. It is beautiful all the way through, and I love it so much. To this day, Why a Spoon will just bring joy to me.
Because it will hurt.
So I fucking love that movie. But I guess I retract my initial answer. Star Wars is probably my introduction to fantasy.
Sure.
Right? If you
it counts.
It's space fantasy, but it's fantasy.
But that ate my fucking life.
That is straight down the middle fantasy.
And I did read all of those novels until they rebooted the expanded
I do remember
universe.
reading The Young Jedi when I was a
Yes.
Yeah. And I will say, because you said Stephen King, I ate the shit out of the Dark Tower series. It is the best fucking thing.
Yeah.
So fucking good. And so, that's probably my answer for fantasy.
Yeah. There you go.
The next one from Tarzan of the Desert says oral. And I gotta say, written exams are really the thing that I'm the best at, because I like to take my time and construct my sentences properly. But after a bunch of acting training and the fact that I'm very comfortable doing cold calls, I have no problem giving like oral presentations.
I would feel like seeing you at table, it seems weird that you would say that oral is your least wanted skill.
Well, it took me a long time to get really good at it, but practice makes perfect, and if you can get through, the hairy bits, then you're gonna be pretty fucking good at it in the long run.
That's fair.
As long as it doesn't leave a bad taste in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
I'm more of a visual person, so I don't know. We all play D&D, we're on podcasts, so there has to be some amount of oral that you got to be able to handle. But more visual learner than an oral learner.
Yeah,
That's
I think
fair.
when it comes to like trying to do different accents and trying to have different flavors, I think that's what can get to the complexity of having the oral, right? It just, sometimes you know what you like and you stick to it. So
Yeah, but variety is the spice of life as well, right?
oh, I mean, you got to try at least everything twice.
At least
So.
twice to know if you like it or not.
So the real question, because that one is another bullshit one from Tarzan of the Desert, is laser tag, paintball, airsoft, or virtual reality? I was a laser tag guy for the longest time. Like
Fuck
when I was a
yeah.
kid, fucking love laser
Whenever
tag.
the Mortal Kombat theme would come on,
Right.
I'd be activated.
Yeah.
I will say I am actively worse when the Mortal Kombat theme is on because I'm doing too fucking much.
you're in your own head.
But
You think you're wall running, but
Yeah.
you're like just kicking out of the wall.
whose birthday was it where we did the augmented reality?
I think it was.
Was it Dan or
I think
Dave?
it was Dan. No, it was Dave's birthday.
It was Dave's birthday.
Yeah.
So our D&D group, there were 7 of us went. We did the augmented reality. So
That's a good fun.
you put on the headset and you got the guns and we shot zombies. And we got the video. They took video with Dan's camera.
yeah.
And shit and set it out. And it's a fucking mess.
Yeah.
I was bumping into everybody.
Nightmare fuel.
And,
Awesome.
and Miyako at one point just has the gun above her head going, I don't know what I'm doing. Trying to walk upstairs and almost falling over.
no.
It was so fucking
That's
funny.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I hate VR.
Yeah. No, the correct answer here is laser tag.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to run, so that knocks that out for me. I don't have to worry about running. I'm not getting hit by a physical pellet. I'm not going to have bruises.
And we are big enough that we are above where the 12-year-olds are aiming.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we're going to miss a lot of shots.
Yeah, no, laser tag is the correct answer here.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I've done all of the above, and I will.
I have as well, and
I will
I
do
don't want to
laser
do it.
tag.
I don't want to do paintball ever again. I
No.
don't want to do airsoft ever again. If someone invited me to laser tag, I would 100% go.
We always did paintball or airsoft in Scouts. Did you guys have to do that when you were in Scouts?
We did it for like birthday parties and team, like
Air-
soccer
airsoft.
sport team
Yeah.
wrap-ups. That's where we did that.
Dave got really into that shit for a while there,
Yeah.
but I mean, clearly he's
The
into hunting
airsoft
and
guns
stuff.
are cool. Like collecting them. At least I used to think they were cool. Now
So,
I've moved beyond it. But
When we were doing Dan's bachelor party, we all went camping, and one person found the airsoft gun that Dave brought. It was just a little handgun, right?
Wow.
Thinking that we would like knock cans down or something, right?
Yeah.
And he aimed into the group of people sitting around the campfire and thought it would be hilarious, and shot Dan right on the bottom eyelid.
Oh my god.
And Dan was in the middle of a story and suddenly starts screaming and clutching his face
Yeah.
and falling over. And we look up and there's the ass end of someone running into the woods. And Dave is like, was that my gun? And he gets up and runs away. And it's just fucking chaos.
Yeah.
And I calmed everybody down and because I had no idea what happened. And I'm thinking he got stung by a bee or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Dan, move your hand. We have to see if you need to go to the hospital. Move your hand. And he pulled his hand away and he was like, tears in his eyes, but from the pain. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't crying upset, but just
No,
like,
just like that would fucking hurt.
yeah, and he's sitting there, and keeping in mind this is before his wedding, like this.
Yeah.
And
Oh, no.
and I look at him, and I said with an entirely straight face, I went, "Oh fuck, you're still ugly." And he knew that it was okay, so
Yeah.
through the tears, he started laughing, and everybody calmed the fuck down again.
Oh.
Yeah.
But that is my favorite airsoft
That's fantastic.
story. So Zan says, what genres of music do you follow or did you follow or listen to in your late teens and early 20s? My parents are musically handicapped, and they're just, my dad was very smart about the musicality of things, but never got out of the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
So I grew up on the Beach Boys and the Beatles and that kind of shit.
My dad was a big Beatles guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I grew up on that. And then when I was 9 years old, as every boy does, I discovered Weird Al.
Yes.
And that
Oh.
that branched me into music genres because he would hit a little bit of everything and be like, what's the original? And so that dragged me up into the 80s and 90s because I
Right,
wanted to
yeah.
know what the original is, right? And then I did Canadian alternative, which is like Our Lady Peace and Moist and Matt Good and all that shit. And Green Day Dookie was fucking huge.
Yeah.
Offspring was monstrous at the time. But I didn't discover grunge until later. I think in my 20s I did grunge and then like psychedelic rock for a while, and you can all imagine why. But
Was it a girl?
Drugs.
her name was Mary Jane.
Not Molly?
No, that was a little before my time.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I dabbled around with that, and then I don't know, man. I'm really big into rap at the moment.
Mm.
And I have gone back, and I've always kind of been slightly aware of it, but I'm really fucking into it right now.
So what's your stance on the Drake beef and the Kendrick beef?
Drake is a bitch.
Yes.
Come at me. I know you're just going to sue me because that's what you do,
That's
you
right,
little
that's what he
bitch.
Waiting for lawyers.
I am not scared of pedophiles, so go ahead.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
For me, I don't want to be the guy who says, like, I liked a little bit of everything, but I kind of did. But if I settled somewhere, it would have been country at that point in my life. And it was, like, classic rock, or, like, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, like, kind of in that range.
It was funny. My brother and I dragged my dad up into 80s rock and hair metal and, like, old metal, right? So, like, it was funny. We were the opposite. Most people get their parents' influence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
fair enough.
Yeah, late teens, early 20s was also when I was doing clubs. So pop top 40 stuff was also, like, constant.
Yeah.
Hip-hop, all of that, because...
I was clubbing, but I wasn't enjoying it.
No,
like, the music was not resonating with me.
Yeah. It was more about the moment than the actual music itself, if that makes sense, right? So, but if I was just on my own listening to music, it was country music or it was
I think
classic rock.
we all have to acknowledge as well that for us at the very least, we are all of the age where My Heart Will Go On destroyed radio for a good solid year. So
100%.
So we all have
live that life.
That is the equivalent of musical COVID. We all got locked down into that.
You were just
for
forced
a year.
to listen to it. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, you rotate radio stations, and every second radio station was playing that song.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will say I did listen to a little bit of everything throughout my teens, and I can explain this. I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. I didn't really have my own personality for a very long time.
Yeah.
So one of my sisters listened to country, one of my other sisters listened to Celine Dion, my brother listened to weird whatever the fuck he listened to. But my dad was big on movie soundtracks. So a lot of the CDs in our house when I grew up was the soundtracks to movies.
Right.
To the point where there is the Armageddon soundtrack CD still in my car.
I forgot about that CD. I had somebody who was staying with us at that point in my life when that movie came out. Yeah. And he would play it all the time. And that whole soundtrack is burned into my mind.
You don't understand how thrilled I was that Starseed made it onto that soundtrack.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Like, there's that one and the Godzilla soundtrack forever.
There was that shitty movie, The Core, when it came out. Great soundtrack.
Yeah.
But, like, anyway, so I grew up in high school listening to soundtracks, which then kind of moved me into that genre of music. And then when I became obsessed with my vampire movies and stuff like that, that's what brought me into grunge and more hard metal. And then, like, so I moved through my waves of obsessive music digestion from what movie genre I was watching at the time.
Right.
And then in my late teens, I was obsessed with, like, I was an emo kid in my late teens.
Oh, yeah, I completely left that out. That was definitely
had my
in the
Evanescence
rotation.
phase, like, so on and so forth. And then in my early teens is when I started listening to a lot of EDM.
Again, why?
So,
a special lady named Molly.
Dead Mouse at the time then? And Skrillex?
You name it all, I watched it. But like we now, the festivals and concerts are still happening that I went to when I was young, like now 15 years ago. But the cost is like 700 times the cost it was then.
Insane.
And I don't know any of the performers that are there anymore. Nope. So I'm just like, I've lost. I will still listen to house music and general EDM music, but I will not be able to tell you what DJ I'm listening to anymore. When I used to be obsessed. I used to know what DJ it was, what like sound with what stage they were at when they were playing that song. I could do all that stuff. Now I'm just like, I don't fucking remember what I listened to. My brain dumped all that information years ago.
Yeah, it's funny. Every once in a while, there's like a deep fucking cut from like Wide Mouth Mason or something that'll come back and I'll be like, oh shit, I know all the words to this. But if you ask me what songs did you listen to, I won't fucking remember any of that.
Well, if anybody's an EDM person, like Rome and I had this like moment the other day where a song from Bloody Beetroots came out and like it was like one of those moments where we were both taken back like 10 years prior to like this weird stage in our lives when that song was our favorite. And then not only that, but like sometimes we'll hear a song in one of my random Spotify rotations that's still there that I'm like, oh, I remember that day.
I have a couple of those as well, and I'm like, fuck.
Anyways.
Awesome.
When you did soundtracks with your dad, was any of it like orchestral as well? Like, did you go through all that shit?
Like, you would all, we got all like because you all watched fantasy movies too, so it was all Lord of the Rings.
because I have strong opinions about like John Williams and like
Yeah.
I go pretty fucking deep into the orchestral side of movie soundtracks.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's because I'm a movie guy, right?
Well,
So-
right now, because Spotify does that thing on my phone where it will give me a list of songs every week that it thinks I will like.
Yeah.
Right now, it's all, not necessarily movie soundtracks, but it's all like movie versions of songs.
Yeah, you should listen to the Westworld soundtrack because
Oh,
it's
fucking
all the
love
West.
it. Yeah.
I prep to it, like
yeah.
that is my
Katie
prep
uses
to
that as
music.
one of the
yeah.
songs as her, I think it's the Paint It Black one, is her
Yeah.
wake up alarm in the morning
Oh,
sometimes.
I don't know if I can do that. That's a dark way to start my day.
Yeah.
Tarzan of the Desert. This is my last one here. What is your go-to feel good or feel bad song that gives you an emotional reaction?
Ugh, it changes way too often.
Yeah, I can't say I've got one.
So I have one right now, and it's a little bit embarrassing. And I will argue that it is very, very sappy and bad, and also one of the best songs ever written, depending on the day.
Yeah.
And in response to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah, throw down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything I do by Bryan Adams, and I mean
Bryan Adams.
Bryan-
Elvin cries everything Bryan Adams.
Yeah,
Elvin
I mean,
cries.
as a
Yeah.
Canadian, it was every third
Yep.
song was a Bryan Adams song, right?
Canadian
Because of-
content, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our radio laws. So
Yeah.
when we at the wedding, at the end of the night, everybody left, and Miek and I kind of had our last dance as everyone got ready for the glow stick send off and all that. Our last dance was to that. And she had never seen Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. She just thought it was this like kind of cheesy, but she's gonna let me have this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick one song, and it's this one for my own like sappy whatever, right? And then when we sat down and watched Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves like last month after the wedding, it was conflicting emotional moments for me because I really missed my dad on the one side, but also this is the song that and that's the end credits. So I enjoyed the shit out of the entire movie, and then got 20 seconds into the end credits and just like, I'm gonna cry. Holy fuck, we need to turn this off.
And is
I'm
it good
having
tears, bad? What kind of tears is it? I don't know what it is.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I
Oh, man.
I need to go do a lap of the backyard just to get this out of my system.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm racking my brain here. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have an answer for this question.
The only answer I have right now, because it's like relative to my life right now, is that we do karaoke a lot in my group of friends. Whether we pay hundreds of dollars to do it or just do it at home, we do karaoke on a regular basis.
Love it.
And we always end with two of the same song. The two songs are the ending songs. One is Stand By Me.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is My Way by Frank Sinatra.
Yep.
And both of those have a hit the heart hard for solid reasons for people in my life. But those that have been the two closing songs for karaoke for the last year and a half.
I'm glad you didn't say My Way by Limp Bizkit. That's what I thought you were going to
Different
say.
vibes, but now I'm going to suggest it the next time we go.
You're
Just
welcome.
put on My Way, but it's
I'm
going to
bring up
one.
the mood. I can say, guys, closing song time
Yeah,
now.
I got My Way.
It will rock the room.
Yeah, you know what? I think people have a good time with it still.
I'm going to get an angry text from Roman at 2 in the morning.
That's right.
100%.
What did you do?
What did you tell her? Why did she do this to me?
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, let's roll initiative again.
I rolled an 8.
11, I'm still going first. Okay. But we're going in this order now, so Brad answers second.
Perfect.
Sure.
So, King of Rot says, when DMing, what is your go-to answer to wall of force around the boss monster? Almost all of my minions will carry a wand of either Dispel Magic or a wand of Counterspell by the time that wall of force comes along, right?
Mm-hmm.
So most of my bad guys are they have cultists or they have minions at some point, and so you don't just fight the one boss monster.
Yeah.
It needs to be chaos as he's stomping around killing all the beloved NPCs and getting down to the showdown where there's corpses everywhere, and it's the 4 of the 5 players are still alive, and then the bad guy, right? So
I mean, your classic trope that I've seen is the magic barrier. The you can't do magic in that space.
yeah,
Every fucking time, Adam.
not every time, but a lot, because Dan will go out of his way to be as fucky as possible going into a boss monster. So
It's true.
anti-magic field is great for that as well, but like there are spells out there, and your bosses, if it's a boss, they know about these spells.
Yes.
They're going
They're
to
not
have
gonna follow
countermeasures.
through. Yeah.
So there it is.
Yeah. And if you're coming up to the big bad evil guy to the point where you're like rocking up, I'm doing my air quotes for rocking up, there's going to be traps and shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be a...
If you still have the high level spell slots by the time you get there, I'm fucking up as a DM.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like, we
right.
did it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. There's two ways to think about this that I like. It's one, I'm not trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me, is a good one. Like, great, let's do it. Or, I did it first, is another one. Like, I've had players who've been using Wall of Force in, like, smaller encounters to try and control the battlefield.
Yeah.
And so the first time that they had it, and I went, hey, guess what I'm doing? Because I can also do this.
Yeah, whatever you do, I can do as well.
Exactly.
So you go right ahead and kill my lieutenant halfway through this.
Exactly. You bet your ass it's coming right back.
Yeah. Tarzan of the Desert says, out of the following options, are you the hero, the support, the chaos, or ride along as a player? I am so rarely a player. I am ride along or support.
Yeah.
Because I'm always the most experienced player at the table. So I will steal the spotlight if I am going to step up to be the hero or the chaos, right?
Yeah.
Although I was the chaos for the clear cut campaign.
You were, yeah.
But not until the very end of it.
That's right.
I was support.
You were the support until you became the chaos.
Yeah. So, Megan?
Hero or chaos?
Clearly.
Yeah.
Fucking clearly.
But here's the thing. In our group, I have multiple times tried to play just a support character.
Yeah? How'd all that lay on hands work, you paladin?
Well, she led in a very different way.
Every time she
I didn't.
liked to
I
touch
also.
herself.
I said the chaos.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm typically the support or the ride along, but also the comic relief, which wasn't an option here.
Yeah.
But I always like to pick the character that's just going to do the funny shit at the table.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, okay, here's the thing. In Adam's campaigns, I tend to play either the hero or the chaos, because I feel very forward in your campaigns. I would say in L5R, I was always support. There was never really a time where I felt comfortable being in the spotlight when I was playing L5R, so I just stayed support characters.
Yeah.
Until I started getting more confidence. And it took me a while, and now I will usually be. And at first, I was the chaos by accident.
Yeah.
And then now I can step up to being the hero, but it takes me a while to get to that point with a group. I had to do it right away with Adam's group because he made me the leader of our fucking.
Yep.
You're damn right.
little
You're the new
crew.
person there. You got to step in and do it.
Yeah. So, but like, so I well, it depends on the group for me, to be honest. And then in the campaign I just did with my friend Cole, I played a support character. My character, literally, all her job was to help other people wrap up their stories. She did not really do much for herself, to the point where he ended the campaign with her story finish.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because she spent the entire campaign helping others. Yeah. Right? So it just depends the group for me.
Yeah. I think if we asked Dan, he'd probably say I'm the chaos.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But
he has said that actually already.
And that is because when I play tabletop games, I also am way more impulsive.
Yeah.
My real life, I think about everything and overanalyze everything before I make a choice. When it comes to tabletop, that's where I let loose. And the first thing that comes to my brain is what I do, because it's usually the most fun thing.
Yeah.
So in that sense, yeah, it's chaos, because I don't really have a rhyme or reason. But it's not to break the game. It's just that I want to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I really now want to play at a table with other people that have as much experience as me, so that I can step up to be the hero.
I might have an opportunity for you. We'll talk later.
All right, okay. I can't think about anything else now because I'm
I know, I'm distracted you for the rest of the
How
rest of
titillating.
the evening. Yeah, you're welcome.
Alan Brewbeard asks, what's your favorite thing in the car to pass the time? My husband recently did a 4-hour drive in complete silence.
Holy
Can we
fuck.
just address the fact that is like
psychotic
maniacal?
behavior? Adam's like, that's what I do.
I legitimately I cannot have, all right, so I have a little bit of ADHD brain.
Yeah.
And I can't have music and a conversation at the same time. It drives me up the fucking wall.
Yeah.
So it's either loud ass music that we can vibe to or like a conversation. I don't listen to anything when I drive to and from work, and I drive for an hour.
Yeah.
Because I wake up, I'm in my own brain, I prep myself for the day, and I often end up thinking about D&D or podcast and I can't be distracted by other shit, or I will just end up in a cycle.
Yep.
Right? So a lot of the time my driving time is focusing, but if I'm doing a quick trip out to the grocery store, I'll listen to the next 7 minutes of a podcast or 2 songs, or who can I call to kill 7 minutes?
People that call people weird me out.
Well, Miek and I, obviously.
We'll have to.
fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like your dynamic needs it.
Yeah, and I will call Charlie for check-ins.
Fair enough.
And I will call my mom for check-ins, but that's just for being a good son, right? 'Cause,
Yeah.
I can go weeks without seeing her sometimes. And then I will occasionally call Dave if he's been blowing my phone up all day. That means he's fucking bored. So I'd better call him. And, the other person I'll call is Dan, but it drives him nuts, and that's why I do it.
Yeah, I will get driven up the wall. I cannot have people that call people when they're driving.
The only time that I will ever call you, and I think I did this to you once, Megan, was I'm at the drive-thru, you didn't look at your phone, what do you want?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, that's the phone
That's
call.
fair.
Usually
that's
that
a
is
business reason.
Those are usually business reasons, are the only reasons people call me. And every once in a while, like if I'm driving or like to work and someone's blowing up my phone, I will then say, just call me if you can.
Yeah.
And then I'll talk to them on the phone while I'm driving.
Let's get this done.
Yeah. So I've done that in my life. But in terms of like, it depends on who I'm with in the vehicle. So if I'm by myself, I have fake arguments in my head while listening to music, and that's where I sit and like rehash every negative thing I've done in my life.
Like anyone with anxiety.
Correct.
Relatable.
If I'm with Roman, it's car karaoke. If I'm with Katie, it's we're having a conversation telling each other about shit that's happening in life.
Sure.
If I'm with my brother, it's murder podcasts. Like it's every single person that I have in my life, it's something different. Yeah. If it's Elwyn, it's going to be blasting music so that we can enjoy it. Like.
So I have gotten to the point in my life where I'm usually the designated driver.
Yeah.
Right. Or I am close enough to home that I can get myself home. But I was designated driver for Mieka's bachelorette party.
You're welcome.
And,
and what did we do, Adam?
You guys screamed your way to the fucking car and then asked for music. And I went, and I said to myself, this cannot be, I'm going to drive for an hour with them to drop everybody else off. I cannot fucking handle the screaming over music. So I went hunting for Disney soundtracks. It's a sing-along, and I cranked that bitch up till the stereo was going to break.
Absolutely.
And that rescued me from the chaos.
Yeah, so
you were still absolute chaos, but within the lines of the song.
But you made the rules of what the chaos was going to be.
Fuck. It was the only way to survive. That comes
karaoke.
That comes from years of driving around drunk women.
Yep.
So, yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, thank you.
I had a blast. Like, I legitimately enjoyed that. Yeah. Megan stopped singing about 3 notes in and just screamed the entire thing.
Yes.
I'm surprised you had any voice.
That's how I karaoke.
Yeah. That's awesome.
What do you do in the car?
So I commute an hour each way every day. So I am a podcast audiobook guy. I have my set weekly podcasts, and when I run out of them, I move to my audiobooks.
I just get fatigued because of the editing. Like, even though there are podcasts I fucking love.
Confession time, I don't listen to our podcast. I'll tell you that much, because I spend so much time editing them and listening to our own voices. I don't listen to them live.
I don't think any of the hosts except for Pepperina and Elwyn listen to them anymore.
I don't even know when my own episodes go live anymore, because I edit them so far in advance.
Yeah.
Or I'm like, I'm so out of the touch with the timeline of the It's a Mimic podcast.
And every once in a while, one of the patrons will just drop a quote of something someone said with no context, and I gotta go look up who was on this fucking episode.
Yeah.
I gotta do that all the time.
Yeah.
No.
But to me, I don't want to hear my own voice in my head, so I have somebody else's voice to drown it out.
No, I only listen to the episodes if someone says to me, "Hey, listen to that episode the other day." I'm like, "Shit."
Yeah, I was like, I should probably find out what you're talking
100%,
about.
100%. And then I will go and listen to the episode to make sure I didn't say anything like garish or shitty.
Then you should never listen to the Undead series.
Oh, yeah.
Every fucking episode.
One of the people who edited some of that? Good God.
I gave one episode to Brad. Otherwise,
he said, "I'm sorry."
As I was editing
I believe I said have fun.
The stuff I put in the Discord as I was editing it was... You're welcome. I left a lot of personal information on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. Adam is supposed to be the one.
Yeah.
I got a glimpse into the life of Adam, and he
was the one that edited the episode where Peps' new boyfriend came in and it met everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, right in the middle of the recording.
Yeah,
that was fun.
So
no, it was great. But no, in the car, if I'm on my own, it's podcasts. Otherwise, I'm usually listening to my kids' music.
Amazing.
They get to just...
I gotta say, there's so many people that have to have something going on because they can't sit with their own voice, and I'm not that guy. Even when I come in after work, I'll sit in my chair outside the space here.
Yeah.
And I will just get a glass of water or a snack, and I will sit there and just in silence for 30 minutes, not looking at my phone or anything, decompress because it's...
So there are dedicated times for that, but when I'm in the car, it is not that time. I get too deep in my head and I forget what I'm doing on the road.
I make the comment that like my car has seen me cry more than any other human on the planet. Like it is the space I feel the safest to just have every emotion I've ever felt in my life. My car is that space.
Well, when I was a teenager, I was going through a bunch of heavy shit. Long-time listeners have heard me talk about it. But my brother also went through a bunch of heavy shit when he was a teenager as well.
Yeah.
Most teens do, but we had some pretty serious stuff going on. And so when my dad saw this, he knew the safest way to engage with us was to go for a drive. Because we're trapped and we can't make eye contact with him because he's driving.
Yeah.
So we can say whatever we want as we look out the window. And he maintained very strong relationships with both of us all through our teenage years, even when shit was hitting the fan. Because we would go for these long-ass drives for like an hour. And we would always start off talking about a TV show or something or whatever. And then, given enough time, we would then blow up about whatever the thing is that's bothering us.
Yeah.
So he kept us communicating and honest. But I got really used to car time is conversation time, or it's sit in silence and wait for things. And now I've done that. Like I raised Charlie half of his life, more than half now. But whenever he's upset, let's go for a drive, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I never really made that correlation until just now, because like my dad was the same. My dad was not an emotional person. He's not the kind of person that will have a very solid, like emotionally intelligent conversation with you. But anytime you're upset, it was either let's go play basketball or let's go for a drive.
Yeah.
And then, so now, yeah, I think that's why.
I mean, that is also how the male brain works, is it is in parallel.
Yeah.
Right? We need to be doing something in parallel so that we can then converse.
Fair enough.
That's why video games exist and Discord exists.
God, that got
Because
heavy.
men need a reason to hang out and talk without hanging out and talking.
Interesting.
all right, speaking of heavy, Tarzan of the Desert asks, boxers, briefs, thongs, or Commando? Commando is one of my favorite Schwarzenegger movies. I gotta say that one. I'm not a big fan of the Rocky movies, so not boxers.
Yeah, do not care.
Right, and I'm not a short film guy, so not briefs. But yeah, probably.
Yeah. Commando? You're a Commando
I
man?
fucking hate these questions, and I've determined to sidestep them as much as I possibly can.
And yet you made the list and they made the cut.
So good.
The bikini
we
cut,
answer
if you will.
everything. We do not get
Not
to
wrong.
yeah. So yeah,
I mean, thongs are my go-to sandal.
Love a good flip-flop.
yeah.
Yeah.
Although I can't run in them.
No.
Not that I do much running anymore, but I used
It's
to.
the chafing, right?
Yeah.
The running in a thong and the chafing.
Right? Like just
uncomfortable.
I just need
Trying to pick that out from in between is just not a great time for anybody
I need a
involved.
team of 7 people with large industrial-sized baby powder bottles to
Yeah.
get me ready to.
Yeah.
No, like running in
It's the
flip-flops.
blisters, yeah.
Fuck. Suzanne says, so my players ask, what about half-elf? How do you plan to keep half-elf and half-orc? Because they have been removed in the new rules.
5.5, yeah. There's no half.
So he says, house rule, do you think of something alternatively? I still need to sit down and think through that. My idea is to do something in the middle, but more human than elf, right? The answer lies in the books already. Like, it's not specifically stated anywhere, but you have the core racial traits that you're, or species traits that they have it now.
Yeah.
There's always like 4 to 6 of them. Pick half and half.
Yeah.
And let them, because they're going to have weird relationships with everybody, let them pick the good ones. Like, let them get dark vision and a bonus feat if that was the thing. So, like,
they're just humans touched by the Fae. Like, let's just, like, brass tacks, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
So, just do that.
Yeah. If you're not in the Discord, we had a really good chat about this when this question first came up.
Yeah.
And that was my stance, is I've already had it come up. And what I did is I homebrewed it, and exactly like you said, I said, take the physical traits, mix them and match them to your liking, and then for whatever ability modifiers or skills or whatever changes, again, pick some from each. Pick your favorites. I don't care about balancing at this point. Pick your favorites.
But a lot of that stuff has even been pulled out of it in 5.5,
yeah.
right? So, like,
a lot of it's
we
not
don't have to worry
in the
about
racial
mechanic.
features.
It's just like a handful
really
of
not. It's
features.
more flavor
Yeah.
than anything else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let your players have fun with it.
I addressed this with the half dwarf, which used to be in previous editions, which we don't have anymore. And I always just said, you don't double up on the modifiers or the languages or anything, but sit there and find the average between the two number of things you should get and pick that number. I don't care how many from which list.
No, doesn't matter.
And tell me how tall you are.
Yeah,
right. Like that's what matters.
It's basically just the height.
Yeah,
because you're gonna have part of it that's genetic, but part of it's gonna be upbringing. So were you raised in which half was more of your upbringing?
Right. So
take the traits accordingly.
Yeah. So all right, let's roll one more time.
All right, let's do it. I got a 1.
8.
God, I'm gonna read
Thanks,
3
Adam.
quarters of this fucking thing.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Favorite fast food?
Are you talking food item or food restaurant?
I don't want to get into item. Let's just go broad strokes. I was a big Popeyes fan because I fucking love chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
And I try not to eat red meat as a general rule. But Popeyes is so, like, any sort of fried chicken is bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been cutting back on that, but it was my fucking go-to for a while because we didn't have it for the longest time in my neighborhood. So that Wendy's is solid.
Yeah.
When I was down in the States, Wingstop fucking saved my life. That was so fucking good. So I was all about that.
We have a couple here, but they're not around very.
Yeah.
Wendy's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Junior
like
bacon
it's solid.
cheeseburger.
Oh, JBC.
Like, best favorite fast food, Wendy's is the correct answer.
I think
it's not my most visited, but it is by far the best.
Literally the other night we were driving home from like a gathering, and then we were like, can we just go to buy a Wendy's? And we ordered like 6 JBCs with extra veg with onion, and just
that and a Frosty. That is like my
Yeah.
perfect little snack or meal.
That no, they were the only place for the longest time that would do grilled chicken burgers.
Yeah.
Which a lot of
They
people
were great.
they don't
Their
do that
chicken's
anymore.
great.
That sucks.
There was a time
Yeah.
when they did. Does anybody remember? It might be a fever dream, but they did pita wraps for
Yes.
a while.
Yes,
Yes,
did.
they were so
Holy
fucking
fuck,
good.
They were
Yeah.
so good.
They had that was the first time I ever had whatever the flavor sweet chili is.
Yeah.
They had
As I said, I haven't done it in forever, but they also used to have the best chili. I don't know if they still have good
They
chili,
do have
but
chili.
it used to be like top tier. I don't
But
know
it's
if
not.
it's. I don't.
Like
yeah.
it's
No.
the leftover beef with red
Yeah.
sauce now.
Yeah,
But
it used to be paired with Tim Hortons, right? So they had the
Yes.
same chili provider.
Yeah.
And then Tim Hortons got sold so that they're not making
Yeah.
new.
it's not as
No.
good. It's good if you get like the taco salad, obviously, and just dump it on top.
Sure,
but I would not
sure.
order the chili on its own.
Yeah, like best fast food.
Dumping it on the taco salad just expanded my fucking brain.
Have you never thought to do that?
No, not
No.
once. That's fucking rad.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God,
I also never get a
guys.
salad at fast food, so it's just not even on the
Oh, sorry.
radar for me.
I'm a girl from the 90s, and
Yeah.
I get salads. But yeah, no, taco salad, dump the chili on top, and then use your taco chips to...
No,
I wondered
consume.
if,
it is 100% sensible. I've just never would have thought of it myself.
Yeah.
okay, Americans, let me know. Do you have chili at Wendy's? Or is that a Canadian thing?
I wonder.
Because we get chili
That's
at a
a
handful
good
of places.
question.
We
right?
get chili
Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah.
so I wonder if that's an us thing.
Because I know you can't up here. You can get fries at Taco Bell. You can't down there. That's not a thing.
Do we have
Interesting.
Taco Bells around here still?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they are just that's the least favorite fast food.
Oh,
they
yeah.
are just
It is
fucking
crap.
I will
quality,
only
but-
do Taco Bell if I go to the States. I don't do our Taco Bell.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we still had them. I thought they disappeared.
And you are better for
Yeah.
it. It is
It's
chicken
not worth
lips
your
and
time.
assholes. It's fucking terrible. So anyway, Sweetaboo asks, how do you deal with DM writer's block? Specifically when you've got a session that you just can't come up with the plan you're happy with. I don't get writer's block. I do the next thing in the fucking campaign
Yeah.
because I know who my villains are. I know what the session is that I'm doing. But when it comes to one shots that we do, like we're about to do our Christmas one shot,
Yep.
right? I will stop and say, what is a thing I've never done before? What is a monster I've never used before that we've covered on the podcast, something interesting? And what is going to absolutely frustrate the fuck out of my players? And that tends to be how I deal with it. Like, what are the tools or the toys I never get to play with? I don't play with giants in our campaign.
Yep.
It just never comes up because we've got a million other things. When a dragon shows up, it is a problem for 3 sessions, and then it is not a thing because we're not a dragon campaign.
Yeah.
Right? So these are opportunities for me to dust off the monster manual and say, all right, the fuck are we doing here? Right? So that's why I get past it. Or the other fun thing is I go look at the bin of minis and say, what have I not pulled out in a while?
Yeah.
Who's got the most dust?
Yeah.
Yeah. My equivalent of the what I want to use is after our Undead series, we came up with so much good random shit with just shooting the shit about Undead. And I tend to use Undead in most of my campaigns.
Yeah.
So usually I'll just like pick a random episode that we recorded and I'll re-look at what we talked about and I'm like, I remember liking that. And then I'll reread it, get re-inspired, and I might plop it in somewhere and if it works, right? But same thing with Adam. I usually plan my sessions ahead of time. I would say the only time that I've gotten writer's block was like when I didn't really know how to end my campaign. I didn't know if I was ready to end it or not. And so then there's always that, for me, sometimes there's that weird middle episode of do I do it now if I'm not feeling it emotionally, or do I just fill it with filler? And I recently did have an experience with, I tried to do a campaign called Bastards of the West. It was a spin-off campaign from the L5R game we were playing with the Roman group. And I did one episode, and for some reason my gas just went, like, disappeared. And I was very sad about it, and I was depressed about it for quite some time, and it's taken me a while to kind of get re-inspired to rewrite. So I'd say that's a different kind of writer's block, where, like, I decided to just not continue writing that campaign, and then it kind of stopped me from wanting to write something else. So then I threw myself into everybody else's campaigns. Like, we still had our campaign going on with Adam. I still had a campaign going on with Roman, and then I started playing a campaign with Cole. And then while playing with them and spitballing ideas with them, I came up with an idea for a new campaign. And I just decided mentally to give up on the old one.
Right.
And I don't think I've ever really done that.
It is perfectly okay to fucking bail on a campaign.
I know, but it
Just
feels
ask Dan.
weird.
You can just drop it on one of your players.
Yeah. So, because there's a part of me that does want to go back and retell. There's only 2 episodes left that I have planned for it. But I'm not emotionally invested in it anymore.
And it'll show.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so do the thing that you love.
Yeah.
The honest answer here, by the way, is, well, you should listen to a podcast called It's a Mimic for your
Right.
inspiration.
Well, that's why I kind of name dropped our Undead series to start, but then got into the real answer.
Yeah.
Don't bother listening to the Giant series. It's just horny.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So
Casey and I come up with some great Giants points.
yeah, and
Yeah,
then
somebody
most of
took
them,
some giant points, that's for sure.
yeah, most of them were about battle skirts, if I remember correctly.
Points and loincloths.
Yeah, it is. Anyways,
Yeah.
Brad, what's
well,
your...
I'm probably the only DM really in the podcast who runs out of the books. So I don't deal with DM block because I'm not writing my own shit.
Fair. Touche.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do. There are others. Like, Tyler has been stuck in Curse of Strahd for
Yeah, I guess that's the one
so,
exception, right? Lots of people have run Curse of Strahd, but
Terry-
generally people tend to homebrew.
Terry just ran Tyranny of Dragons, but he ripped it apart and put it back together.
Well, that's exactly it, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people use it for inspiration. No, I run it by the book. And then, like, the in-between stuff, yeah, that's where I'll fill my own, especially if we've done an episode where I'm like, I want to use this.
Yeah.
Because I'm inspired about it right now. That's where I'll fill, but generally, if it's in the book, I'm running it.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is Tarzan of the Desert. When you are at your lowest, who is the first call?
Getting deep.
I mean, I'll call my wife, but
Yeah.
I mean, besides that, I don't have a first call. I'm super fucking 90s about it. And I don't want to say toxic, but like, I am very content, again, to sit by myself in a dark ass room and work through my shit. And that's how I have gotten through a lot of things. Dan has pulled me out of a funk a couple of times, for sure. Dave has pulled me out of a funk a couple of times. But no, for the most part, I process it alone and then give people the Cole's Notes version after the fact.
Yeah.
Right? So...
Well, I mean, yeah, my partners are the first ones that I would call if it was something that was necessarily needed right away.
Yeah.
But Ellie and I have been friends since she's my Dan.
Yeah.
So, like, I've been around her for my entire life. And we actually live in the same building structure. So we live in 2 separate towers, but we're connected by the parkade.
Right.
Yeah.
And there have been many, we actually made this joke the other day. There have been so many pinnacle moments of our lives that have happened in that parkade.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have cried more, we have hugged more, we have laughed more, like, because it's always, hey, I need a second, and then like, kill me in the parkade. Because we can't get into each other's buildings, but the parkade is common ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so for the last couple of years since we've lived there, if I need something immediately, like if I can't do this, sit in a dark room and process it myself, I just say, hey, are you home?
Yeah.
And then she's like, I'm on my way. And and we always meet in the parkade and then figure out what to do from there. So it's become a staple in our lives right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I live with my wife, so when there's something to unpack, that's where I unpack it. But I will also go the horrible, unhealthy, cliche way. I'm a man. I deal with it myself. And I hate to say it, no one else gives a shit or no one else has time for my shit. And I know it's not true, but that's where the brain goes.
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like mine isn't. I internalize and do it myself, but it's not because no one's gonna give a shit or like
Yeah.
it's
Well,
not-
I don't want to be a burden is the other part that my brain goes to.
And again, I have no problem being a fucking burden. I call my friends all the time to come record a podcast. So.
I know. Yeah.
That's a good question.
I also don't put a lot of weight in feelings because I feel that they're temporal.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's kind of my thing is I'm not going to burden somebody else with my shit because it's going to pass not too long from now.
I tend to say that sentence a lot when someone's like, "Is something? Are you okay? Like, what's going on?" I'm like, "It's fine.
It's
will
fine.
pass."
I'm dealing with it. It will go.
Yeah, mine is "It will pass. I will be okay." Is usually my response. But there are those times where I'm just like, "No, I will not be able to process."
And
it on my own.
that's as a married man, I've got my wife when it gets to the point where I've got to.
I live alone. I have my cat.
I have a gecko.
I also have a
They don't talk back. My dog talks back. That's the problem.
The gecko actually runs away from me, so sometimes my cat does too, so
Yeah, okay. On to the next one. Diggly Blue Moonya says, what was the inspiration of the character that you're playing right now?
Oh.
I played one session, so I just did character creation, and I looked at what the other two were playing, and they are noobs, and I went elf wizard, gnome paladin. We need a sneak. I could be sneak, range, or heal, but we have paladin for heal, and the wizard will have enough range, especially with cantrips, so we need a sneak. So I just went with a physically imposing. They went small, medium, so I went orc because large, and I went rogue. So
all right,
I just fill in the gaps. And again, as a forever DM, I have played every character I've ever wanted to play as an NPC.
Yeah.
Sure. So I will happily fill in the gaps and see what this character becomes. And I discovered that my character is just moderately annoyed at everyone else. Because those two are happy-go-lucky and everything's fine and we're off adventuring. And my character is a orc soldier, right? Who is just like, I gotta keep these fuckers alive, I guess. Yeah. So
fair enough.
Yeah. So my inspiration is what are the rest of the party?
Look at you being a support character.
Nah, there it is, right?
That's fair. I have very specific inspirations. I have 3 characters I have right now. One is Adam, your main campaign.
Yeah.
Kaya is the inspiration for her was basically Dragon Ball Z. Like,
nice.
She is the daughter of Vegeta. Like,
perfect.
Come on. Like,
you've never gone back to that well after that, have you?
What do you mean?
I mean the fact that your fucking character for a one-shot's name is Krillin. Yeah. You think I did not fucking... Come on.
So, and that's the thing. Okay, so, and then I have a character that I played in my friend Cole's campaign, and she was inspired by, I picked one of the muses from, like, Greek mythology.
Which one?
I just built a character, Melpomene.
Okay.
Yeah. So she gathers, her whole shtick was that she would play music to gather the stories from other people, but they would be their sad stories, and she'd create a song about it and then play it to inspire them to do better.
Okay.
And that was her whole thing. So, and then her whole backstory is she has all of her sisters of the 9 muses, and so on and so forth. So
I just imagine feel better.
Yeah,
be much. Better.
Well, I was playing.
Stop crying.
I was playing with the group that obviously they lean into heavy, like, sad backstories, and so I was like, this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
So because it was Steve.
You'll have plenty of fuel.
Sad backstory. Roman, sad backstory.
Perfect.
Mitchell, sad backstory, and I was like, excellent. So every episode was me bringing out their sad story.
Perfect.
So that's what I mean. Like, she was built to support others, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then my newest character that I built from the campaign we're about to play for Christmas, I built a Hexblade Warlock that is based off of Jill from Final Fantasy 16.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the inspiration. Yeah.
I'm playing a Storm Sorcerer, and my inspiration was Thunderbolts and Lightning. Very, very frightening. That was basically all.
Oh my
fucking
God.
It's a pirate campaign, so I'm like, we're on the sea. I want to control the storms in the seas.
If that song comes up in karaoke, we get mad. Just saying.
That's fair. But, yeah, that was basically, we're on the sea. I want to control the elements.
You need to tell everybody your fucking character's name.
Oh, Thundar.
I hate you.
Yeah.
You're worse than I am.
It was bad, but it was great. So that came about because I was looking at, like, random generator names because I'm playing a hobgoblin.
Yeah.
And so Thun was one of the names that came up, and my brain instantly went, well, that's half a thunder. Let's just finish that off.
Yeah.
And there it was.
No.
So that was literally my inspiration.
Well, like, every
It
character...
doesn't go deep.
Every character I've played in Adam's campaigns has had a name that starts with K.
Mm.
And so I was like, I have to have another one, but I don't want to ruin his life that hard. So I went with Krillin with a K, but call her Lynn.
You always have but it's not quite.
But it's not the same.
Yeah, like Kai is spelled with a Q. Thank you. You've broken the fucking mold, Megan. I wouldn't have noticed otherwise.
I broke the spell.
Fuck. All right, so the last question is from Tarzan of the Desert. And he says, do you know how much your podcast means to your fans? Because I hope you do. Like the guys that will not shut up in the inboxes. And and I love them for it. There are a solid, like, 8 or 9 people that if I don't hear from them in a couple of months, I gotta go check in. Like, what's going on?
That's fair.
So, and the patrons are fucking great. Like, the Discord is amazing. So.
Yeah, we have a really good group of folks, and like I remember saying this in a couple episodes ago in terms of it feels like the last couple of years have been this. My whole life is capsulated in this podcast.
Yeah.
If you follow from beginning to end, you can hear the story of my life for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And that means that they have heard it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a very different person now than I was back then. And so knowing that they are still sticking around and still listening and still engaging and still in our Discord super loud every day, like it's a good feeling that we haven't scared anyone away yet. I mean...
Well, there's probably some, but...
Well, I have purposefully scared a couple people away. They were being problematic as shit, but other than that,
Yeah, other than that, like, we have a very good community, and I enjoy interacting with them a lot, so thank you very much.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Discord, I think I would forget that people actually listen to this. Right? When I get in this room, I forget that this is being recorded and that it's going on the internet and people are actually listening to it.
Yeah.
Like, it just... Even when I'm editing an episode, I forget the fact that, oh yeah, someone's actually going to listen to this. It's lost on me, apparently, because I'm here just to hang out with you guys.
Well, yeah, I see a lot of the behind-the-scenes shit, like
Yeah.
posting the episodes and making sure we have the show notes ready and
Yeah.
the time codes in it and shit like that, because these are things that people have requested. If
Mm-hmm.
you go back to the beginning, our show notes were horseshit. They were copy-paste nonsense. Without links, without anything. It was just like, hey, like us and follow, and like, that was it. And I'm like, they want info. They want to know who's on the episode. When you click on the YouTube video, it tells you immediately, like, the title for the YouTube search feature has to have, like, the monster that's in it. It's not the funny title. It's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything. So, but you see what the pun is, and then you see who are the people that are on it.
Yeah.
Right? So you can actually follow people if you want.
Mm-hmm.
I got to make playlists all the time on shit and like update the website. And the other thing that I get to see is the inbox, because when people send us messages through the website, it comes to the inbox that I see.
That's right.
Dan used to be able to see it, but I kick his ass off.
You share the good ones with us, which I like.
I do.
Well, like I'm sure there's lots of good ones, but like the extra special ones you share with us, and I always appreciate that.
I always
them.
copy and paste it into a private channel for the people that it applies to.
Yeah.
So, like with Lady Mimics, you guys get all the undead praise, right?
Yeah.
If someone does a particularly good job or a good inspiration, I send them a side note and say, hey, you need to know that people fucking loved this.
I need to up my game, apparently. I hadn't had one of those.
You haven't been on a lot of episodes
No,
recently.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I kid.
We record a bunch of shit out of order, and your stuff just got posted early.
Right, yeah.
And so, but we're getting back into it, so.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening to another round of mailbag questions on the It's a Mimic channel. If you'd like to ask us questions that we'll definitely answer no matter what, you can reach out to us through the mailbag post in the subreddit It's a Mimic. Hit us up through Facebook or Instagram. Send us messages through the website or join our Patreon, which has a Discord channel dedicated to mailbag questions.
It's r/It's a Mimic. You fought with Casey about it for an entire Giants series.
Sorry. R/It's a Mimic.
For those questions, though, they are first come, first serve, so get those answers in ASAP. We already have a handful of overflow questions for the next mailbag coming up in 3 months.
And again, thanks for listening and supporting us at It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get. So my biggest fucking insecurity of all time is fucking dancing, and you fucking called me out on the internet
awesome.
about it.
They asked the question.
Yeah, and
I answered it.
And I'm going to be staring at the ceiling now, like, for the next, 3 hours going, I asked Mieka how much of an ass of myself did I make, and she's like,
To be fair, there were a lot of wild dancers. I just don't know their names and can't name them.
Okay.
So if you were not the worst, you were the worst that I knew the name of.
That's fair. I was also so drunk and trying to match her brother.
Yes.
Who was a fucking phenomenal dancer.
Doing great. Yeah.
And I was trying to keep up with him and just couldn't.
When they started busting out with like coordinated line dancing, I was like, I will try one, and then I need to not, because I also cannot dance in
A line dance I can usually follow, but that's about it.
I was too
great.
deep in the cups by that point to be able to follow it.
Yeah.
So.
I was a hot mess trying to follow, and I was like, I'm done. This is where I need to not be here anymore.
Yeah. And also, to be fair, you guys were on the dance floor, quote unquote, but mostly you were hanging out by the bar.
Yes.
Being those guys. And every once in a while someone would like shift from foot to foot, call it dancing.
Yeah.
And Charlie was a fucking wreck. That was great.
The stand in
Yeah.
the circle and sway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we did a lot of circle swaying.
Yeah.
It's a good wedding.
Weddings are good for that.